Hello guys, my name is Victor Bloodstone. Today I will be telling you guys about 4 creepy and disturbing high school horror stories. So let's get started. Story 1. The Haunting of Room 213. High school was supposed to be a time of learning and making memories, but for me, it became a nightmare I could never forget. It all started when I was assigned to room 213 for my biology class. It was a gloomy classroom, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the school building. The moment I stepped inside, a chill crawled down my spine, as if the very air was heavy with a malevolent presence. The first few days were uneventful, but that changed when I started noticing odd occurrences. Objects would go missing and reappear in strange places, as if moved by an invisible hand. Sometimes, the air would grow ice cold, and I'd catch glimpses of shadows darting across the room when no one was there. I tried to brush off my unease, blaming my overactive imagination, but then came the whispers, a haunting symphony of hushed voices that filled the room during quiet moments. They were unintelligible, a cacophony of despair and anger that sent shivers down my spine. One evening, I decided to stay late and study. The sun had set, casting the classroom into darkness. As I pored over my textbooks, I heard a faint tapping against the windows. I turned, and my heart nearly stopped. A fascia pale and twisted pressed against the glass, its eyes locked onto mine. I stumbled back in horror. But when I gathered the courage to look again, it was gone. I confided in my friends, who laughed off my fears as an elaborate prank. Determined to prove myself, I invited them to the classroom one evening. As we settled in, the atmosphere grew tense. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness, and our flashlights flickered and died. Panic surged as we heard the whispers grow louder, surrounding us. In the pitch-black room, I felt a cold hand close around my wrist, its grip tightening. My friends screamed, but their voices were drowned out by the relentless whispers. It took all my strength to break free from the icy grasp. The lights flickered back on, and the whispers receded, leaving us shaken and terrified. I dropped out of the class, unable to bear the haunting any longer. Room 213 had become a prison of terror, and its malevolent inhabitant refused to let go. To this day, I can't pass by that classroom without feeling a chill, a reminder that some horrors never fade. Story 2. The Cursed Yearbook. It was senior year, and excitement buzzed in the air as we prepared for graduation. The yearbook committee had worked tirelessly to capture our high school memories, and the final product was glossy and perfecta except for one thing, a single photograph, tucked away in the back, that seemed out of place amidst our cheerful smiles. The photo depicted a group of students, their faces twisted in agony, their eyes hollow and haunted. I recognized them as the members of the yearbook committee, the same ones who had poured their hearts into creating this book. It was as though their very souls had been stolen, leaving behind only a chilling emptiness. As whispers spread about the cursed yearbook, fear gripped the school. People claimed to see the students from the photo wandering the halls, their gaze fixated on something unseen. Their footsteps echoed through the empty corridors, a haunting reminder that something was very wrong. One evening, I found myself alone in the school's library, drawn by an inexplicable urge. The yearbook lay open on a table, the cursed photograph staring up at me. Goosebumps erupted on my skin as I felt a presence behind me. I turned slowly, and my heart nearly stopped. The students from the photo stood before me, their eyes vacant yet accusing. Their lips moved, but no sound emerged. In a trance-like state, I picked up the yearbook, and they pointed to the photograph. With trembling hands, I reached out and touched it. In an instant, I was transported into the photograph, surrounded by darkness and the tormented souls. Their whispers grew louder, filling my mind with fragmented thoughts and emotions. I saw their memories of the sleepless nights, the tireless work on the yearbook, and the moment they had stumbled upon a forbidden ritual meant to grant them success. But the ritual had gone horribly wrong, binding their souls to the yearbook itself. Their agony was palpable, and I was overwhelmed by their despair. With a surge of determination, I focused on the memory of the ritual and willed it to reverse. The darkness shattered, and I found myself back in the library. The yearbook lay closed on the table, the cursed photograph erased. The presence of the tormented souls had vanished, replaced by a profound silence. Graduation came and went, and the school slowly returned to normal, as if a heavy weight had been lifted. I often think about that experience of the cursed yearbook and the souls it had trapped. It serves as a chilling reminder that even in the midst of happiness, there can be darkness lurking, waiting to consume those who dare to tread where they shouldn't. Story 3. The Haunting Melodies. My high school was famous for its music program, with a renowned choir that had won countless awards. But behind the harmonious melodies and the smiling faces, there was a darkness that none of us could escape. It started innocently enough. We had been rehearsing for an upcoming competition when a new student joined the choir. His name was Lucas, and he had an ethereal quality about him, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to see straight through you. He had a hauntingly beautiful voice, a voice that seemed to captivate everyone who heard it. As rehearsals continued, Lucas's voice grew stronger, the notes he sang ringing with another worldly power. But as his voice soared, a subtle change came over the choir. We began to experience strange sensations, a prickling on our skin, a sense of being watched. It was as though Lucas's voice was reaching into our souls, awakening something dormant. One evening, after a particularly intense rehearsal, I stayed late to gather my things. The choir room was empty, but I could hear a faint melody echoing through the air. The source was Lucas, sitting in a corner, his eyes closed, lost in his song. I watched, mesmerized, as the air seemed to shimmer around him, but as the melody grew more intricate, a sense of unease settled within me. I tried to tear my gaze away, but it was as though his music had ensnared me, binding me to its spell. The room grew colder, and shadows danced along the walls, their movements mirroring the haunting notes. Suddenly, Lucas's eyes snapped open, locking onto mine. His voice shifted, growing darker, more sinister. It was as though a different entity had taken hold of him, using his voice as a vessel. Panic surged within me as I realized that the darkness that had awakened was now staring at me through Lucas's eyes. I stumbled back, my heart racing, but the room seemed to stretch, elongating into an endless abyss. The haunting melody grew louder, a cacophony of terror that threatened to consume me. Desperation pushed me to my feet, and I ran, crashing through the exit and into the hallway. The melody followed me, a relentless force that seemed to be tearing at the very fabric of reality. I sprinted down the hallway, the walls warping and twisting around me. Just as I thought I couldn't go on, I burst through the doors, stumbling into the moonlit night. The melody ceased, and I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. The choir room's windows glowed with an eerie light, and a soft breeze carried the haunting notes into the night. I knew then that Lucas's voice held a darkness beyond imagination, a darkness that had nearly consumed me. The choir never performed again, and Lucas disappeared without a trace. But his haunting melodies still linger in my nightmares, a reminder that even the most beautiful sounds can carry a darkness that can shatter the very essence of reality. Story 4. The Unseen Presence. High school was supposed to be a place of growth and camaraderie, but my experience was marked by an inexplicable dread that haunted my every step. It all began when I transferred to a new school in the middle of the academic year. As I stepped through the imposing gates of Coldwater High, an unsettling feeling crawled up my spine. The school's gloomy Phi Tilde Section 8 seemed to reflect the ominous aura that clung to its halls. I quickly realized that I was the new kid, the outsider trying to find my place amidst established cliques and friendships. But there was something else that set me apart, an unspoken knowledge that there was something deeply wrong about Coldwater High. Students whispered in hushed tones about eerie happenings, unexplained disappearances, and a pervasive feeling of being watched. My unease grew when I was assigned a locker in the furthest corner of the school's dimly lit hallway. Locker 113, a rusted and dented metal compartment, seemed to exude an air of foreboding. Each time I reached for the handle, a chill crept over my skin, as if warning me to keep my distance. But I had no choice. It was my designated locker. One evening, while the school was shrouded in a dense fog, I stayed late to finish an assignment. As I passed locker 113, a soft whisper tickled my ears. I stopped in my tracks, glancing around, but the hallway was empty. The whispering persisted, growing louder and more insistent. It was as if a multitude of voices were speaking in unison, their words indecipherable yet haunting, heart-pounding. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The locker's metal door creaked open, revealing nothing unusual inside, but as I leaned closer, the whispers coalesced into a single, chilling sentence. "Help us, set us free." The voice seemed to emanate from within the locker itself, as if the very metal was trying to communicate with me. Trembling, I slammed the locker shut and fled the hallway, convinced that I had simply succumbed to fatigue-induced hallucinations. Days turned into weeks, and I tried my best to ignore the ominous occurrences, but the whispers persisted, growing louder and more urgent. Shadows danced at the edges of my vision, and I could swear I caught glimpses of figures moving just beyond sight. One evening, as the school emptied and darkness settled, I found myself standing before locker 113 once again. The whispers were relentless, reverberating through the hallway like a mournful lament, fueled by a mix of dread and curiosity. I placed my hand on the locker's cold surface. The moment my fingers touched the metal, a searing pain shot through me. Visions flashed before my eyes, memories of students, their faces etched with fear, locked inside the locker, their pleas for help unanswered. I felt their despair, their anger, their longing for release. With a surge of determination, I yanked the locker open. A blast of icy air rushed out, swirling around me like a tornado. The hallway seemed to stretch and warp, as if reality itself was unraveling. And then, from within the locker, emerged a cacophony of agonized wails and tortured cries. The specters materialized before me, ghostly figures, translucent and tormented, their eyes bore into mine, filled with a mixture of sorrow and gratitude. They murmured their thanks, their voices a chorus of voices intertwined with sorrow and relief. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they dissipated into the air, leaving behind an overwhelming silence. From that day on, the whispers ceased. The hallway regained its normal appearance, devoid of the spectral presence that had haunted it for so long. I never spoke of what happened to anyone. It felt too surreal, too impossible to explain. But deep within me, I knew that I had borne witness to a tragedy that had gripped Coldwater High. Years have passed since that eerie encounter, and the memories have faded. But sometimes, when I find myself alone in a quiet hallway, a faint echo of whispers lingers in the air, a reminder that the past can cast a long, haunting shadow, even within the walls of a seemingly ordinary high school. If you liked the stories, then consider liking the video and subscribing my channel, as it would motivate me to make more videos for you guys. And thank you for watching this video.